My brother-in-law destroyed my entitled sister in front of our entire family. Hey everyone, welcome back to Reddit Bit. Imagine watching your sister try to seduce your husband at a family barbecue while you're 6 months pregnant with his child. Now imagine your parents defending her behavior because she's always been special. Welcome to the most twisted family drama you'll hear this week. Today we're diving into a story that made my jaw drop, and trust me, after covering hundreds of Reddit posts, that doesn't happen often. This tale from Portland, Oregon has everything: extreme parental favoritism, obsessive sibling rivalry, and a confrontation so explosive it permanently fractured a family. Let's dive in. Growing up in Portland, Oregon, I never thought I'd be writing about my family drama on Reddit, but here I am. My name is Ethan, I'm 28, and I'm the middle child in a family that gives new meaning to the term dysfunctional. There's my older sister Olivia, 29, me, and my younger sister Zoe, 26. Our story isn't your typical sibling rivalry. It's what happens when parents play favorites to an extreme, and one child decides that anything her sister has, she deserves more. When Zoe was born, she had a rare congenital heart defect. The doctors told my parents she might not make it past her first birthday. My parents, Robert and Karen, spent a fortune on specialized treatments, flying to different hospitals across the country, and basically put their entire lives on hold. Against all odds, Zoe survived. The doctors called it miraculous that I remember standing in the hospital hallway when I was just 2 years old, holding Olivia's hand while our parents were completely focused on Zoe. That scene pretty much set the tone for our entire childhood. Zoe needs special attention became my parents' mantra. At first, we understood. She was fragile, needed extra care, had to visit specialists regularly. But as the years went by and Zoe grew stronger, nothing changed in how my parents treated us. If anything, the favoritism got worse. When Olivia got straight A's in middle school, my parents barely acknowledged it. "That's nice, honey," my mom would say before turning her attention back to whatever minor achievement Zoe had that day. But when Zoe managed to get a C+ in math, my God, you'd think she'd solved world hunger. There were celebratory dinners, phone calls to relatives, the works. "Don't be so sensitive," my dad would tell Olivia whenever she tried to point out the unfairness. "Your sister had a rough start in life." I watched Olivia's bright, confident personality slowly dim as she realized nothing she did would ever be good enough. Meanwhile, Zoe became increasingly entitled, manipulative, and competitive, especially with Olivia. That if Olivia joined the debate team, suddenly Zoe was interested in debate too. If Olivia wore her hair a certain way, Zoe would copy it within days. It wasn't flattery. It was like Zoe was trying to erase Olivia's identity by claiming everything for herself. As for me, I was basically invisible. The forgotten middle child who wore Olivia's hand-me-downs and learned early on that the best way to survive was to stay under the radar. My parents didn't have time for me unless it was to ask me to be understanding about Zoe's behavior or to help out more so they could focus on her. "Your sister almost died, Ethan," they'd remind me whenever I complained about the unfairness. As if I could possibly forget. By high school, the dynamic was firmly established. Olivia was the scapegoat, I was the ghost, and Zoe was the golden child who could do no wrong. Even when she started showing truly concerning behavior, my parents made excuses for her. When Zoe stole Olivia's prom dress and accidentally spilled punch all over it the night before prom, my parents bought Zoe a new, more expensive dress while Olivia had to scramble to find something else to wear. When Zoe borrowed my gaming console and broke it, my parents told me I should have taken better care of my things. But the worst was yet to come. Olivia managed to get a full scholarship to Northwestern University, her dream school. My parents didn't save for either of our college educations because Zoe's medical bills took priority. So Olivia worked her ass off for that scholarship. I had to take out massive loans for my state college education, while Zoe, surprise, surprise, had my parents pay for her to attend the same university as Olivia. Despite her mediocre grades, during Olivia's sophomore year, she started dating this guy named Tyler. He was smart, good-looking, pre-law, and seemed to genuinely care about her. For the first time in years, I saw my sister truly happy. She called me regularly to gush about him, and I was thrilled that she'd found someone who appreciated her. That Christmas, Olivia brought Tyler home to meet the family. Big mistake. From the moment they walked in, Zoe had her sights set on him. She wore revealing clothes, laughed too loud at his jokes, and found excuses to touch him. I watched in disgust while my parents remained oblivious. Olivia noticed too, but tried to brush it off. "She's just being friendly," she told me, but I could see the worry in her eyes. On the third night of their visit, Olivia came downstairs looking for Tyler, who had gone to get drinks from our basement rec room. When she didn't come back upstairs for almost an hour, I went to check on her. I found her sitting alone on the front porch, shivering in the December cold, her eyes red and swollen. "She's down there with him," she whispered. "They're together." I didn't need further explanation. I wanted to confront them, but Olivia grabbed my arm. "Don't. Just don't." The next morning, all hell broke loose. Olivia confronted Tyler and Zoe at breakfast. Tyler had the decency to look ashamed, but Zoe? She smirked. "It's not my fault he prefers me," she said, looking directly at Olivia. "Maybe if you weren't so boring in bed." I've never seen Olivia so angry. She threw her orange juice in Zoe's face and turned to our parents. "Are you going to say something?" "Anything." My mom dabbed at Zoe's face with a napkin while my dad cleared his throat. "Olivia, violence is never the answer. I think you owe your sister an apology." "An apology?" Olivia's voice cracked. "She slept with my boyfriend." "Well," my mom said hesitantly, "these things happen. Tyler and Zoe seem to have a connection. Maybe it's for the best that you found out now rather than later." I'll never forget the look on Olivia's face, like something inside her had finally broken beyond repair. She packed her bags and left that day. Tyler followed, apologizing profusely, but Olivia wanted nothing to do with either of them. The kicker? Within a week, Zoe and Tyler were officially dating with my parents' blessing. Young love, my mom called it. They just couldn't fight their attraction. Olivia cut contact with all of us after that. I tried to stay in touch, sending texts and emails, but she was done with the whole family. I couldn't blame her. Over the next few years, things got even weirder. Zoe and Tyler got married right after college, a lavish wedding that my parents paid for despite their supposed financial struggles. I attended only because I hoped Olivia might come, but she didn't. I managed to find Olivia on LinkedIn and discovered she'd moved to Seattle and was working as a software engineer at a major tech company. I sent her a message, and to my surprise, she responded. We started talking again, cautiously at first, then more openly. "I'm sorry I disappeared on you," she told me during our first phone call in years. "I just couldn't handle the toxicity anymore." "I get it," I assured her. "I would have done the same." She told me about her life in Seattle, her career success, and eventually, about a guy named Jason she'd been dating. "He's nothing like Tyler," she said. "He actually respects me." A year later, Olivia and Jason got married in a small ceremony in Seattle. She invited me, but made it clear that our parents and Zoe weren't welcome. I flew out for the weekend and was struck by how happy and confident she seemed, like the bright-eyed sister I remembered from before all the family drama crushed her spirit. Meanwhile, Zoe and Tyler's marriage was already showing cracks. Tyler had cheated on her multiple times, shocker, and they fought constantly. My parents were still in denial, telling everyone that Zoe and Tyler were working through some challenges while continuing to subsidize their lifestyle. Last year, Olivia called me with exciting news. She was pregnant. Despite everything, she expressed interest in reconnecting with our parents before the baby arrived. "I don't want my child to grow up not knowing their grandparents," she explained. "I'm willing to try again if they can respect my boundaries." I helped arrange a video call, which went surprisingly well. My parents seemed genuinely happy about becoming grandparents and promised to respect Olivia's wishes regarding Zoe. They even apologized for some of their past behavior, though I could tell it was more about securing access to their grandchild than genuine remorse. The real test came when my parents invited Olivia and Jason to their annual summer barbecue in Portland, a big event where all our extended family gathered. Zoe and Tyler would be there, but my parents promised to make sure Zoe behaved. "I don't know, Ethan," Olivia said when I called to discuss it. "Being in the same room as Zoe and Tyler sounds like my personal nightmare. I'll be there as a buffer," I promised. "And Jason seems like the type who won't put up with any BS." After much deliberation, Olivia agreed. But at the first sign of drama, we're out. The barbecue started off tense, but manageable. Olivia and Jason arrived looking like the power couple they were. Olivia visibly pregnant in a beautiful sundress, Jason tall and protective beside her. Our extended family fawned over them, especially our cousins who had always seen through Zoe's act. Zoe and Tyler arrived fashionably late, of course. Tyler looked uncomfortable, while Zoe had clearly dressed to compete with Olivia. Too much makeup, too tight clothes, and a forced smile that didn't reach her eyes that I noticed Zoe watching Jason throughout the afternoon. That familiar predatory look in her eyes. She kept finding excuses to talk to him, touch his arm, laugh at his jokes. Jason, to his credit, remained polite but distant, always moving back to Olivia's side. During dinner, my dad stood up to make a toast, welcoming everyone and expressing special joy about Olivia's pregnancy. It was a nice moment until Zoe suddenly stood up, glass in hand. "I'd like to say something too," she announced, her voice sickeningly sweet. "It's just so wonderful to have my big sister back after all these years. I know things were difficult between us, especially with the whole Tyler situation." She gestured to Tyler, who looked like he wanted to disappear. The table went silent. I saw Olivia tense up, while Jason's expression darkened. "But that's all water under the bridge now," Zoe continued. "I mean, clearly Olivia has moved on to bigger and better things. She gave Jason an obvious once-over. Though I have to say, it must be hard for you, Liv, to be around Tyler and me, knowing what you missed out on. But don't worry, your consolation prize seems adequate." Before anyone could react, Jason stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the patio. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm but ice-cold. "I don't think we've been properly introduced. I'm Jason, the consolation prize. And you must be Zoe, the sister I've heard so much about." Zoe smiled, clearly misreading the situation. "All good things, I hope." Jason laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Actually, no. I've heard how you've spent your entire life trying to steal anything Olivia values. I've heard how your parents enabled your toxic behavior because you were the miracle child. I've heard how you seduced her college boyfriend because you couldn't stand to see her happy." Zoe's smile faltered. I'm not finished," Jason cut her off. "You know what's funny? Olivia was worried about coming here today. She was worried about how seeing you and Tyler might make her feel. But looking at you now, I can see there was never anything to worry about." He gestured between Zoe and Tyler. "This sad little show you've got going? It's pathetic. You're so obsessed with competing with your sister that you've never developed a personality of your own. What exactly have you accomplished in life besides riding on your parents' coattails and stealing your sister's leftovers?" My mother gasped. "Now wait just a minute." "No, you wait," Jason continued, turning to my parents. "You two created this monster. You neglected your other children to spoil this one. And look how she turned out. An insecure, manipulative woman who can't stop trying to sabotage her own sister's happiness." He turned back to Zoe. "And just so we're crystal clear, I've seen you watching me all day. I've noticed the touching, the flirting, the not-so-subtle hints. It's not happening. Not now, not ever. I would rather set myself on fire than betray my wife the way your husband betrayed her. Speaking of which," he nodded toward Tyler, "you might want to check your husband's phone. He's been texting someone named Amber all afternoon. Guess old habits die hard." The table was dead silent. Zoe's face had gone from smug to shocked to furious. Tyler was staring at his plate, confirming everything Jason had said. "Jason, that's enough?" Olivia said quietly, but I could see she was fighting back a smile. "You're right. It is enough," Jason agreed, taking her hand. "We're leaving. Thank you for the invitation, but I think we've had all the family reunion we can handle." As they stood to leave, I caught Olivia's eye and nodded. I'd join them later. After they left, chaos erupted. Zoe burst into tears. My mother tried to comfort her while scolding Jason in absentia, and my father looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Tyler slipped away, probably to call Amber. I sat there, sipping my beer, trying and failing to hide my grin. My cousin leaned over and whispered, "That was the most satisfying thing I've ever witnessed." I couldn't have agreed more. The aftermath was even more dramatic. A week after the barbecue, Jason called me. "Dude, you won't believe this," he said, sounding equal parts angry and amused. "Your sister has been messaging me on every platform imaginable." He forwarded me screenshots. Zoe had sent him everything from tearful apologies to angry accusations that he'd misunderstood her intentions. When those didn't work, she'd moved on to flirtatious messages, culminating in some explicit photos with captions like, "Olivia doesn't need to know," and "I can show you what a real woman feels like." "This is insane," I told him. "Have you shown Olivia?" "Not all of it," he admitted. "She's pregnant. I don't want to stress her out. But she knows Zoe's been messaging me." We decided to confront my parents. Without telling Olivia, Jason and I arranged to meet them at their house. To our surprise, Zoe was there too, along with Tyler. "Before you start," my mother said defensively, "I think Jason owes Zoe an apology for his behavior at the barbecue." Jason laughed. "Actually, I'm here to show you why your daughter needs serious professional help." He pulled out his phone and displayed the messages and photos Zoe had sent him. Why mother turned pale. My father looked away, unable to face the evidence of their failure as parents. Tyler grabbed Zoe's phone and found the same messages sent from her end, confirming they weren't fabricated. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Tyler shouted at Zoe. "We're married. He's your sister's husband. She's pregnant with his child." Zoe curled into herself, suddenly looking small. "It's not what it looks like," she whimpered. "He started it. He's been flirting with me since they got here." "That's a lie," Jason said calmly. "I've saved every interaction we've had. There's nothing from me but polite rejection." I finally spoke up. "This has to stop. All of it. Mom, Dad, you've enabled this behavior for 26 years. You've consistently chosen Zoe over your other children. You've excused her worst behaviors and punished Olivia and me for reacting to them." I turned to Zoe. "And you need help. Real help. Not mom and dad bailing you out or making excuses for you. You're so obsessed with taking what Olivia has that you've never built anything for yourself." My mother started crying. "You don't understand how hard it was when Zoe was sick. We thought we were going to lose her. That was 26 years ago," I said flatly. "You've been using it as an excuse ever since." "Well, guess what? You didn't lose Zoe back then, but you've lost both Olivia and me now." I stood up. "Olivia and I are done. Don't call us. Don't visit. Don't expect to be part of our lives or her baby's life until you get your priorities straight and Zoe gets professional help." Jason and I left them sitting there in stunned silence. In the car, Jason turned to me. "That was intense. You okay?" I nodded. "Actually, I feel better than I have in years." In the months since then, a lot has changed. Tyler filed for divorce after discovering Zoe had been cheating on him with multiple men. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who got those screenshots. My parents have been calling and texting me nonstop, alternating between anger, guilt-tripping, and tearful pleas to reconsider our harsh judgment. I moved to Seattle to be closer to Olivia as her due date approached. She gave birth to a beautiful baby girl last month. Seeing my sister as a mother, determined to break the cycle of favoritism and emotional manipulation, has been healing for both of us. As for Jason, I bought him a trophy that says, "World's Most Badass Brother-in-Law." He keeps it on his desk at work. Sometimes family isn't what you're born into. It's what you choose to build from the ashes of what burned you. Olivia, Jason, their daughter, and I are a family now. A real one, based on mutual respect and genuine love, not obligation and manipulation. And honestly, we're better off without the toxicity. Am I the asshole for laughing when my brother-in-law put my entitled sister in her place? Nah. Sometimes karma needs a standing ovation. And that's how Ethan finally broke free from the toxic family dynamic that had defined his entire life, choosing to build a healthier relationship with his sister Olivia, her husband Jason, and their newborn baby girl. What strikes me most about this story is how long patterns of favoritism and enabling can continue before someone finally breaks the cycle. For nearly 3 decades, Robert and Karen Winters created an environment where one child could do no wrong, while the others could do no right. The result? A daughter who believed she was entitled to anything she wanted, including her pregnant sister's husband. That Jason's confrontation at that barbecue wasn't just a moment of standing up for his wife. It was the first time anyone had truly held Zoe accountable. And her response, sending inappropriate messages and explicit photos to her sister's husband, only confirmed how deeply damaged her sense of boundaries had become. This story raises so many questions about family dynamics. At what point does supporting a child become enabling destructive behavior? When is it appropriate to cut ties with toxic family members, even if they're your parents? And how do you break the cycle of dysfunction when it's all you've ever known? I'm curious, what would you have done in Ethan's position? Would you have cut ties with your parents sooner? Would you have confronted them differently? Or would you have tried to maintain the relationship despite everything? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've experienced family favoritism yourself, remember that Ethan and Olivia's story shows it's never too late to set boundaries and create your own definition of family. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away from toxic relationships, even when they're with the people who raised you. If you found value in today's story, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. And if you know someone dealing with family drama like this, maybe share this video with them. Sometimes knowing we're not alone in these struggles is the first step toward healing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.